Bianchi is the world's oldest bike company and one of the most influential, hands down. How old are they? Well, they celebrated their 130th anniversary with a super sweet special edition Bianchi Super Pistas back in 2015. Get subscribed to see the full bike check of this beauty next week. To give you an idea of exactly how long ago 137 years ago was when Edoardo Bianchi opened up his bike fabrication shop in Milan, Italy, back in 1885, light bulbs were a relatively new thing. Before building bikes, Edoardo Bianchi built musical instruments, ate pasta next to candles and oil lamps for light, not ambiance, and went to bed at 8:30 p.m. like everybody else. Because Bianchi has been around for so long, they are without a doubt one of the main forces that has steered cycling into what it is today. And key design features that I guarantee are on your bike today can be traced back to Bianchi. Speaking of bikes we ride, today's video is sponsored by Wabi Cycles. We all know that Wabi makes some killer lightweight steel frame sets, which unfortunately they're out of stock of until the end of this year because of supply chain issues, you know the deal. So that means there's no frame sets and no complete builds for the time being. But did you also know that Wabi has an equally killer selection of fixed gear components to help you build the buttery bike of your dreams with parts from Sugino, H+ Sun, Velocity, Nitto, Brooks, Philwood, and more. Be sure to check out their dope fixed gear component selection linked in the description right after you're done watching this video. You gotta be doing something extremely right if your business can survive 137 years. Only half of businesses survive the first 5 years. Only 1/3 of businesses survive 10 years, and there's an estimated 0.5% of businesses that last past 100 years. And it's an estimate because these things are so rare that we can only guess about how many there are. And Bianchi, with their super sick bikes and their groundbreaking, i.e. actually useful and not stupid innovations, lasted a century and then over a third of another century. To put it in perspective, in the fixed gear world, Cinelli is one of the most desirable brands because we love anything that has an Italian name on the down tube, even if it's made in China. And Cinelli, they have a rich history of bike racing and making some really fantastic bike parts. We think of them as this old, grandfathered company that's brought countless innovations to the cycling world. How old is Cinelli? Cinelli is young enough to be Bianchi's grandson. Cycling wouldn't be the same today without Bianchi. They're not just an Italian bike company that now manufactures most of their bikes in Asia that fixed gear riders overhype and overpay for. Road bikers, cyclocrossers, distance riders, time trial, fast boys and girls, and fixie foos all still hold Bianchi in a high regard. Can we get some Fs in the chat for the Super Pista though? They don't make that anymore. Bianchi made bike innovations so long ago, we just now take them as a given. Before bikes looked like this, they looked like this. If you think cycling is dangerous now, try riding a penny farthing in a full suit and a top hat without clenching your cheeks. And no, I'm not talking about the cheeks on your face. We have Bianchi to thank for helping to popularize safety bikes in 1885, which are bikes that have the same size front and rear wheel, more commonly referred to today as bikes. Edoardo Bianchi figured that he could make the front wheel of the bicycle smaller and have the rider sit in a lower and safer position compared to the super tall and sketchy penny farthings, while still going fast, all by using another Italian invention, the roller chain. The earliest instance of the roller chain, which is used on lots of things that have drivetrains, can be dated back to the 1500s in a sketchbook owned by a guy named Leonardo da Vinci. In 1885, Edoardo Bianchi helped to innovate on the blueprint that the British engineer Henry Lawson made in 1876 for the modern bicycle that we still use today that have equal-sized wheels and a drivetrain driven by a roller chain. Bianchi was one of the first to put drivetrains on bikes when he was 21. Do you like having air in your tires? Air in your tires is great. It's fast, it's efficient, it's comfortable, it has good handling, it's easily repairable. It's just such a dope thing that we don't even think about it anymore. You have Bianchi to thank for that too, as they were the first to put pneumatic tires on safety bikes, i.e. bikes, back in 1888. Before we had pneumatic tires with air on bikes, there was solid rubber tires on bikes, which were a lot bumpier, squirrelier, slower, overall just worse, and for some unknown reason, some companies are even trying to bring back the solid rubber tire. If you think bike messengers are badass, Bianchi used to tailor-make bikes for the Italian bersaglieri, which are Italian marksmen. These guys would run and ride up hills, climb trees, shoot enemies from afar, reposition, and do it all over again. The bersaglieri's job was, quote, to shatter the enemy's overall cohesion and will to fight. Bianchi helped them to achieve this, designing bikes specifically made for rough terrain. They made the first folding bikes and the first active frame and fork suspension systems in 1911 for the express purpose of helping the Italian marksmen bully their enemies into submission on rugged terrain. Gravel biking isn't exactly a new thing, everybody. And Bianchi's innovations, they go on and on. They made the first woman-specific geometry when they made a bike for Queen Margherita, you know, like the pizza, true story, in 1893. The first caliper brakes, remember those? They still work great in 1913. A vertical dropout design for fixed gear for some reason in 1914. Okay, not all of the innovations are going to be bangers, but Bianchi does have a big catalog of bangers. They even made cars and motorcycles for a hot minute. And Bianchi claims even more accolades, far too many to include all of them in this video, from Olympic gold medals, multiple Giro d'Italia wins, multiple victories in a little bike race called Le Tour de France, and a whole bunch more. People have been pushing the limits of what is possible to accomplish on bikes, on Bianchis, for over a century, and they continue to do so today. Call it Celeste, sky blue, or toothpaste green. The real reason Bianchis are painted their signature color is lost to history. Rumors range from that was the color they got when they mixed some surplus military paint together, to Celeste is the color of the sky in Milan, to Eduardo Bianchi painted the Queen's bike to match her eyes, to, dude, we're gonna sell so much toothpaste. We may never know the real reason, but at the end of the day, Bianchi is so legendary that anything even remotely cycling related that is even remotely the same color as their signature Bianchi blue automatically harkens back to Bianchi, just like these reasonably dangerous tap water bottles made by Specialized in California. They're vegan, organic, and gluten-free, and every water bottle comes with a handwritten and signed thank you note by me, so get one if you want one. Like most century-old, family-run businesses, Bianchi was bought out by a faceless multinational corporation in 1997 called Cycle Europe Group, that's owned by another faceless multinational corporation called Grimaldi Industry AB, which, if my sources are to be believed, actually isn't an AI-generated name. But at the very least, they seem to be doing a pretty dang good job of cranking out really dope bikes, unlike what they did to my poor boy Schwinn. And like most bike companies in this day and age, Bianchi shifted from making their bikes handmade in Italy to most of their lineup being made in Taiwan. And that's not to knock Bianchi, that's just to say that Taiwan is extremely good at what they do. They make really great bikes for a fraction of what it would cost to make in a Western country. You just can't compete with that Taiwanese work ethic where you're expected to work 72 hours a week, get paid for 40, and not complain about how this system is rotting Taiwanese society from the inside out. Let's get some F's in the chat for all my homies in Taiwan. But people still win races on Taiwanese-made Bianchis, and people still drool over just looking at Taiwanese-made Bianchis. They really are beautiful bikes. A good bike is a good bike no matter what country it's made in. And one of the most sought-after fixed gears, at least when I first started riding fixed gear 10 years ago, was the Taiwanese-made Bianchi Super Pista. Click the subscribe button below and the bell notification so you can see the full bike check of this beautiful Bianchi Super Pista when it drops next week. Bianchi is a pretty big deal in cycling, and even then, that is an understatement. Without Bianchi making actually useful bike innovations and helping other good bike ideas to gain traction, your bike that you're riding today and cycling just wouldn't be the same without them. The Fixie famous shoutouts to Mohr, Perez, Brandon, Black, David K, Gio Dezera, Julian Corona, Ryan, Witt, Palangi, and Zane Kolnik for helping to make these videos possible through their support on Patreon. And remember that life is short, but don't make it shorter, so be sure to ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous.